Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today's topic is how to calculate the definition of ready and how to ensure the readiness of work items. We all know that definition of ready, that is DoR, is a checklist which has set of items that we should achieve so that we can say that the work item is ready to be picked up as a part of the sprint backlog, which will be implemented in the sprint. But how to measure this and why we need to measure this? And is there a measure available? Because it is a checklist. How are we going to do that? Here we need to classify definition of ready associated at two different levels. First level is the business level and second level is the team level. When I say business level, let's try to understand how we create a requirement, how we create a feature, and how we will create an user story. When business is looking for some feature or functionality to be available as part of the product, they create that as a requirement. So business team creates a requirement, and in turn, inside the requirement, we will create different number of features. N number of features gets created. Now, this information of what is the need of this requirement, what is the problem that we are trying to resolve, or what is the enhancement that we are trying to bring, what is the business value that we are going to achieve, all the things will be discussed in the product management teams meeting. Now, when I say product management team includes product owner also will be part of that team, and he or she also will be discussing. But now it is at the very initial level. Just a requirement has been created and feature is available now. Now we need to really start measuring definition of ready from the feature level, because from this level we will be start discussing more about what we are going to achieve, what is the functionality that we are trying to implement, what is the business value, what is the outcome, and what is the benefit. All those things we will be discussing. So when we get that information of what are the things that we are expecting out of this feature, that is the time we will set definition of ready as 2. So when is definition of ready as 1? Why I'm saying 1, 2? Okay, let's try to understand that first and then we will go this step by step. Even though definition of ready is a checklist, and the checklist mainly targets on team level, what team needs so that they can pick up that work item and start working on that and implement it and deliver it so that the business value is achieved. But actual story starts from the requirement. So from there we need to slowly get into the level of team so that we will have enough and more information to the team so that they can start the work. So somewhere we need to start measuring it. At every level, if we start measuring it, it will be easy for us to track it, and wherever it is getting blocked, based on the priority, we can also hint the product management team, and product management team also will take necessary actions according to the level of definition of ready that has been achieved. In simple terms, when definition of ready is achieved as 5, I am just making the scale from 1 to 5 so that it will be easy, because we don't have too many levels, then again it will be a problem to maintain that. We have simply 5 levels, 1 being the least and 5 being the maximum value that will be achieved. Now when I say 5 is the time when all the information that is required for the team to start the work that is available, then it is fine. What is one? One is something, requirement is available, we are able to identify the features inside the requirement. That means we are with definition of ready 1. At least we reach the level that what are the features that we need to implement so that we can say this requirement or epic is ready. So that is 1. Are we going to use the same system where we are capturing the user stories? Are we going to use the same tool like Jira or Azure DevOps? Same place we are going to maintain this? You can maintain in the same tool, or you can also maintain in different tool. I'll talk about how that is also taken care. Now let's understand step by step, and then we will talk about how tools are also getting used and how the values also being given. So first thing, we need to prepare a checklist. What is required? What are the things that should be taken care to reach definition of ready 1? What are the things that should be met to reach definition of ready 2? Similarly, definition of ready 3, definition of ready 4, definition of ready 5. Is it mandatory to follow this? It is a good practice and it is a very well and interesting practice, so that we will be able to track at each level where we stand and what are the gaps, rather than waiting till we reach at the end stage and we don't know where exactly we are and what are the gaps. Rather, this will help us. So now let's talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the checklist items? So first checklist, definition of ready 1. When I can say the work item is reaching definition of ready 1? Requirement or epic is available from the business, and the epic or the requirement has been added up with the features that are included in it. We have identified the features, means we have reached definition of ready 1. What are the high level features? Let's say we are doing this in a separate tool called JAMA, AHA. There are different tools. Okay, we are doing this in different tool. So business is writing a requirement or epic. First, initially they don't know how to classify that with features, so it is not even reached definition of ready 1. When they start brainstorming with the product management team, what are the requirements, what is actually required as part of this requirement, then we start writing the features, high level features. That is when we say that we have reached definition of ready 1. Now product owner is asking so many questions, product management team is brainstorming and trying to figure out what are the user stories that we can make as high level inside this feature. What are we trying to do with this feature? What are the challenges and what is the outcome that we are expecting out of this feature? That discussion will help us in identifying the user stories at high level. That is the time we should say that we have reached definition of ready 2. So when we are in actually the state to create user stories, to identify user stories, because we have good level of information in the feature, then we should say we have reached definition of ready 2. Now there is a catch. Till now it is used in a different tool called AHA or JAMA. So we should set a indicator saying that when a feature is reaching definition of ready 2, definition of ready is a field. Okay, in the tool there is a field called definition of ready, like priority estimate, like that there is a field called definition of ready. So we can keep changing the values from 0 to 5. Initially when we create the requirement it will be 0. When we identify that into features, all the features will get 1 as the definition of ready. When features are having adequate information and they are ready to get into the level of user stories, that time we need to make it as definition of ready 2. Now when we immediately change this value from 1 to 2, automatically this feature gets created as a copy in the tool called Jira, which is being used by the team. So now we are segregating business level and team level so that we can easily maintain and track it. So till 1 and 2 definition of ready, there is no team's involvement because it has been taken by the product management team with the business. Once we get into the level, okay, we are now ready with the features and we know that what are the user stories that will be taken care, that is the time we should set definition of ready as 2, and that is the time this feature also gets created as a work item in the Jira tool, which is being used by the team. Okay, I am not interested in using two tools. Let me go with only Jira. Yes, of course, you can do that. You can set some rules. You can set some configuration in such a way. Once you are set with the definition of ready 2, that means you are ready to start writing the user stories. So definition of ready field is the key here. It is not necessary that you need to maintain two tools. If you are maintaining two tools, you need to build an integration between the two tools with the help of this definition of ready field, so that when the value turns to 2, automatically a copy of feature gets created in the team level tool. Now what user stories will be getting created inside the tool against each and every feature. Now, initially the user story will be having only the outline details. What is the title? It may not follow any such guidelines of 3C, invest. It is just a rough draft, right? So when it gets to the level of following the guidelines of user story and work items like acceptance criteria, title is being followed with certain things, and we have added enough information on the acceptance criteria, that is when we say we are with definition of ready 3. Now next set is definition of ready 4. Here is the catch. So definition of ready 4 includes additional details that are required for the team to start the refinement, to participate in the requirement. When I say that acceptance criteria should have enough details, non-functional requirements are captured, testing requirements are captured, additionally the wireframes which are required are also attached, all those things are identified. And if some of the functionalities or features which need spike, that also have been added. So with all this information, now we get into complete picture of what we need to take care as part of this feature. If the feature need to be delivered, what are the user stories and the work items that we need to really target and implement. That is the time this work items, user stories or any work items that will reach with definition of ready 4. One point to remember, every time when we are creating the child elements, that is from requirement to feature or epic to feature, the child element will get the actual definition of ready value, because that element only will trigger the next set of items to move. So we should be very clear, from feature we should put 2, that means next user stories can be moved, and automatically this will reach the level of definition of ready 5. So when we say definition of ready 5, before that we need to talk about what happens in definition of ready 4. So when we say definition of ready 4, as I mentioned, we have enough information in the acceptance criteria, we have wireframes attached, we have details about non-functional requirements, all those things are available. That is the time we can pick up this item for refinement, because this has enough and more details for team to refine it and then come as a part of estimation. During the refinement meeting, there will be dependencies or some other things that might get added as part of the work item. That is the gap that we need to fill to reach definition of ready 5. Until and unless we are not reaching definition of ready 5, we cannot pick up those items for sprint. Why? The reason is definition of ready 5 states that the complete information is available, complete clarity is available, we know what we are going to do and achieve. Whereas 4.3 says that there is a gap. So we are going to pick up the items that have already uncertainties and we are going to work on that. That may create hurdles during the sprint execution. So what is the use of doing this? The use of doing this is, let's take, there is a priority work item. We want to implement it. According to product management, this feature is very much priority. But it have not even moved from definition of ready to that states that only features have been identified. We are not even in a state to identify the next level of stories. Or we are in already definition of ready 1. That means we have identified only the features. We have not yet moved to the next level. So we can share that information to the product management team saying that there are already gaps. We have not even met the previous levels of definition of ready. So until and unless we are not meeting that, it is hard for the team to work on in the refinement meeting for these work items, because we will spend more and more time in the refinement. As I mentioned earlier also in our one of the episode on best practices of refinement, it can happen on very very rare cases that we cannot fill all the information at the early stage, but for most of the things we should bring that kind of clarity. We should try to resolve the uncertainties at different level, so that we will be able to take much more clarity detailed item to the team, so that it will be easy for the execution. That is the whole purpose of having this different checkpoints. It is all about different checkpoints. So every checkpoint we are ensuring certain information is getting ready, so that we are ready to move to the next level. So at every place we are having this intermediate checkpoints, so that we have an option to check whether we are really moving or we are somewhere blocked. And depends on the priority, it will also help us to pick up the items to move it into the next level, so that team will be ready to pick those items for refinement. So even though definition of ready is a checklist that should be met to prepare those items, or those items which are meeting the definition of ready checklist are only eligible for moving from the product backlog to sprint backlog, but it is also very very important at different levels we should be measuring where are we with the definition of ready. So in that way this will be very helpful. Even if two tools are getting used across business and the team level, it is very important we should bring an integration, and we should ensure definition of ready field is going to play a very key role in identifying where we stand with respect to the readiness of work items. So this is one of the very important topic on how to measure the definition of ready, and how we can ensure that we are really ready to pick these work items for refinement and further execution in sprint. Thanks everyone for listening. Happy learning and stay tuned.